Hello everybody. Alright, so follow-up video on that stone that I did. I want to take this to the next step and make a sterling silver bezel for this for wearing on a necklace. So the first step, do some designs. So what I've done is, these are other stones that I'm working on as well, but came up with a real basic design until I learned how to do some of the fancier stuff. So I'm just going to have a sterling silver back plate that'll end up being a little bit bigger than the stone, and then do a fine silver bezel around that. Have a jump ring on the end of it so the bail can go through that for wearing on a necklace. So the first step is to do the bezel. So I use 999 fine sterling silver. This is a 26 gauge bezel wire. It's just flat, pretty plain. So I will make a shape for this to match the stone, and be right back with that. All right, so I've basically made the shape, cut it out. It's gonna go on something like that. So the next step would be to solder this. Right now it's just open. So let's get that soldered and see what it looks like. All right, be right back. Okay, so you can see where I've soldered it here. And then I got a file and filed off the excess solder on the outside. So once we do the final polish on this, we'll be able to clean that up and get all the scratches out. But for now, I'm gonna want to make sure it's still, let's set this down, fits the shape of the stone. So I can put the stone in from the top, like so. Because once we solder this onto the back plate, that's how you put the stone in. So everything still fits. So the next step is get this onto a back plate. So the back plate needs to be big enough to incorporate all of this. So cut out a piece, and definitely going to be big enough. So once I get better at this, maybe I'll start making these smaller. This will be excess sterling that I'll keep, and at some point melt it back down and do something with it. So let me get a O-ring. Sorry, not an O-ring, but a jump ring. So I've made a handful of jump rings, like so. And it's going to end up going on the end here. Just make sure we got enough room for it. Like that. So I'll end up soldering that outside bezel and jump ring to the plate. Then I can cut the plate out around the bezel, and we'll have a back on this. So for now, pop the stone out. next step would be to basically solder that down and cut it out. All right, well, let me get that set up and we'll go from there. All right, well, impatience got the better of me. So while I was soldering the bezel down to the back plate, I was having a hard time getting it heated up with my little butane torch. So I brought out a bigger map torch, which I'm not familiar with. Definitely got hotter quicker. Did the solder and I left the heat on just a little too long. Heat got up underneath the plate and literally melted the sterling plate. So that piece is definitely ruined. I'll be able to put it in the scrap pile, melt it down later. But I get to start all over. So a lesson learned. Don't get it too hot. Don't be impatient. So let me try this again. Let me start over and create a new bezel and we'll go from there. I got a new bezel formed. There's where it was soldered. All right, so I'm going to get a back plate for this now, and we'll go from there. All right, back. Got the new setup here. So this was the old one that obviously melted. Bummer. All right, so this is the new one. You'll notice it didn't melt. Big difference. You can see where the solder flowed. Got a good solder all the way around. Very cool. That big torch with the map gas actually works pretty good if you use it a little bit different than the butane torch. So next I will trim this out and we'll get ready for the next stage. Actually, let's see if the stone still fits in it. I'm just gonna set it on top. I don't want to actually put it in it because now that there's a back on it, probably wouldn't be able to push it back out. All right, so yeah, I'm pretty sure this is gonna fit just fine. So I'm not gonna force it in there. If you really wanted to put it in there to make sure, you could put a strong piece of real thin, like dental floss or something across there. So that way you could pop it back out. But in this case, I'm not gonna test my luck. Especially if I make it a little too tight and I can't get the stone in there. I have the added benefit of being able to take it back out onto the polishing wheel and polish the sides down a little further, and then I can make it fit. So no problems there. All right, next step, trim it out and we'll go from there. All right, I've got it cut out. Got it marked sterling. So obviously I've got a little bit of cleanup to do. Some file work, some Dremel work. So we'll clean this edge up further. So I cut this out basically with a combination of shears, where I could get the shears around it. And then like right here, could get the shears in here obviously. So I use the saw to go through here and in that circle. And I'm guessing that takes a while to get good at the saw because it took me a while. All right, let me get that cleaned up and we'll see what it looks like next. Actually, let's see what it looks like with the stone sitting on it. It's gonna look pretty good. All right, I'll be right back. All right, well, I've got the stone set. I've got it semi-polished. Obviously, I still need to get this on the actual polisher and get a good polish put on it, the silver. But I'm waiting on that piece of equipment still, so for now, that is my finished product. Not bad for beginner. Tell me what you think. Thanks.